Hey everybody, so I want to show you guys Jupyter Notebook and the .NET C# extension or add-in or whatever you want to call it. I think this is super cool because I've been trying to learn C#, and for me, Jupyter Notebook helped a lot with Python. And so I wanted to see if there was a way to get the .NET Core into Jupyter Notebooks, and it was actually really easy to do. Within just a couple minutes, I was able to get it up and running without any issues. So I use Anaconda to get Jupyter Notebooks, though there are other ways to do it. I think that is one of the most easiest ways. So if you want to have the same setup or follow along, because I'm not going to show you guys how to do that part. It's well documented how to get the .NET Core, but let me show you guys the. So here's the blog, and it talks a bit about it. I use Jupyter or Anaconda to get Jupyter Notebooks, so I can say it was really easy to set it up with that. If you install Jupyter Notebook in another way, I can't speak for that. But you get C# and F#, and really all you have to do is down here. I didn't do this part, I just skipped that, but here, if you do the .NET tool install, this will be in a console window, and then down here you just run .NET, try Jupyter install, and that'll be in your Anaconda prompt. And then that's it. I mean, you're good to go from there. And it talks about some stuff down here, just how you could use it. I'm very new to C#, so I'm still trying to figure out everything that that I can do with it. But I do a lot of code wars with Python to keep up with things and continue learning, especially if I don't have time to get into a project or a dynamo graph. I'll just do a quick code wars. Well, I want to do the same thing with C#. I have some active projects I'm working on, but a lot of times I don't have time to jump in there, so I like to do code wars. And I'm not a fan of code wars, just the way that you test the code. I think Jupyter Notebooks is easy because you can break your code up and then run them at different pieces and quickly see the data that's within your different variables and just your functions and stuff. So this is Jupyter Notebook. Here, if you're familiar with this, you can click New. As soon as you install, you're good to go. You've got these .NET, C# and F# there. And what you can do is just click on it. It'll create a new notebook. I've already got one open here. And I'll show you. I got an example in VS Code, but I'm just going to... Yeah, so I'll put this blog below. Let me... Yeah, so here what we can do is create a list. And I just want to show you guys this just so you can see how it's like, Jupyter Notebook and Python. I think for like solving problems, or even if you're using it to document or have some machine learning process, or maybe you're doing some cleanup to some data, I've always liked Jupyter Notebooks because they were an easy way to present that to people that may not be doing very many things in these programming languages. And so Jupyter Notebooks to me was an easy way to document a workflow and then share it with people. And so, yeah, I just like it for that purpose. I can't speak too much on how, like, if you're using C# in current workflows, how much Jupyter Notebook would work. But I think, like, if you're using it for code wars, you just quickly want to test your skills or build your skills, Jupyter Notebook could come in handy for that. And in that blog that I'll share, there's some really cool examples in there worth checking out and how you could use. how you could use Jupyter Notebooks. So we run that, we've created this variable called list. So now if we just do list, we can see the output. It does put it in this nice table with the indexes. I think that's kind of cool. If we go back here, and I mean, I'm very new to this, and I don't look at myself as a developer. I think it's a helpful tool. It's easy to use, so I definitely think it's something useful if you're trying to learn C#, especially if you're building like add-ins. I mean, the best practice is building add-ins for Revit, but if you don't have time, you just want to continue learning, because the best way that I've learned Python was continuing to learn it, and I try to slip in some code wars at night or some other challenges from like LinkedIn Learning or other websites, and then that's my way of trying to continue learning and without spending a ton of time, because I'll get lost in a project and sometimes I don't learn anything out of it because I'm just trying to solve one particular issue or something. So like here in Python, if we just create a list, which is by far easier, something I'm still learning with from C# is it's a little bit more difficult to do everything. I see the power of it, especially with the .NET stuff, but compared to Python, being that I've learned Python, that was my starting languages. Everything else is not the same. It's hard. It's been difficult for me to pick them up, and but what's cool about C# and languages like it is it does, like Python's very different than a lot of other languages, but I think C# by knowing that, like languages like Go or other, C++. I mean, you can jump from C# to those other languages. I think a bit easier, and the logic all makes sense. Like when I'm building it, everything makes sense in C#, but it's still been just difficult trying to get to a level that I'm comfortable with in Python. So here's our list. I don't know why it's rendered out this way, why it looks like this. And this is kind of like the NumPy indexing, or like the pandas where it creates the data frame. So I can't speak why the differences between this, but you can see the visual way of Jupyter Notebooks. If you haven't used this before, I really like it because you can just run. I mean, for testing, you can, like, I'll jump out of VS Code or Visual Studio into Jupyter Notebooks and we'll test functions. I'll pull in some test data, test some functions, and just verify it in here visually. It's just easy. I do know that there's some cool functionality in Visual Studio that I haven't fully leveraged yet. So if you, depending on your workflow or how you're using these tools, Jupyter Notebooks may be more beneficial or less. It depends. But I definitely think there's a side of it that no other tool has, which is the documentation side of it, and like why a lot of data scientists use it, just because you can explore your code and your data and then easily present that to somebody as well. There's a lot of cool blogs out there that use Jupyter Notebooks to document all their code. And to me, it's just a really interactive way to work with a language. Anyways, I just wanted to show you guys that. I thought it was super cool. I'm going to start playing with it. I'm going to continue doing stuff in it. Maybe when I get comfortable enough, I'll do some stuff in Code Wars and I can show it on the channel. But I will link below this blog post, and then I think there should already be a link to the Anaconda distribution stuff. But if it's not, I'll put it below. But check that out, because that'll get you hooked up with Jupyter Notebooks if this is something that you're interested in. At least, if anything, Jupyter Notebooks for the Python side of stuff is super cool, and I think really powerful. So I definitely recommend it for that. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. But let me know if you have any questions, or yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.